and welcome to Quantum Zilch. My name is Dennis Regan, and I'm the host here. We're going to start today's episode off with a QRU, the Quick Robot Update. Most of you know that I'm building a robot to be my friend, my sidekick here on Quantum Zilch. And we've made a lot of strides in the last week or so. I say we, it's me, I'm the only one here. I've decided to use this old red radio head for the robot's, it was an old red radio, and I'm going to use it for the robot's head. And it is in the process right now of being converted into a robot head. And I've also added a number of appendages to the robot, as you can clearly see. The appendages are arms, and the number is 2. Now I decided, well, I found 3 of these coils, these blue coils in a box laying down the hall here in the factory, and I considered putting 3 arms on the robot. I really did. Now a lot of you might think that's odd, but in the world of robotics there really are no limitations. I considered putting an arm coming out of the front of the robot here, the anterior of the robot, and I also considered putting a robot arm coming out of the back, the posterior of the robot. I also considered, thought about a bit, putting a second arm coming out of the left side of the robot here. So we would have 2 arms on this side, 1 arm on that side, for a total of 3 arms. But since I'm going to be putting 3 legs on the robot, I decided on 3 legs. If I put 3 arms on the robot, I was thinking, some of you might start to think that I'm just like a one-trick pony. So I'm going to go with the 2 arms, kind of the standardized 2 robot arms. Now I knew a lot of you would be curious about what shade of blue this was, and you'd be asking about that on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. So I did a little bit of research, and the best that I could determine, this is really, it is just blue. It's regular blue. It's not a shade of blue. I checked it out, and it's not indigo or cobalt, or it's just blue. This is the blue. Some of you also might be thinking that I made the robot arms too long. Well, let me tell you, there is a saying in the world of robotics that you can always make your robot arms shorter, but you can't always make your robot arms longer. You know where I've learned that? From this book. No, not this. This is the wrong book. This is Interweb Poker. This book right here, this is where I learned it. Half-wits for poker. Half-wits, robotics for half-wits. This is a great resource. I recommend this book highly. It's a great resource for tips on how to build a robot, and it's also a great resource for old sayings from the world of robotics. And that concludes today's QRR, the Quick Robot Update. Okay, well, a lot of you have joined the Facebook page, the Quantum Zilch Facebook page, and I appreciate that. And a lot of you are asking questions on there, sending me messages or putting comments on there. Most of you are asking how you can become a QZ Ranger or where you can get T-shirts, and those are great. All those questions will be answered in due time. But today I want to answer the question about guests. I am not going to have guests on here on Quantum Zilch, ever. It's just going to be me, you, the viewer, and the robot when he becomes completed, or she, whatever. There is one exception to the rule. There's one exception to the no guest rule, and that is if royalty ever wanted to come on here. It would have to be top shelf royalty. It would have to be a king or a queen. Maybe I could let a prince or a princess slide into here. I don't know where they'd sit exactly. I guess I could scooch this chair over here and pull that tool chest over here, and they could sit down there. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But that's it, just kings or queens and or a princess. I'm not going to have a duke or duchess or some kind of countess on here. I mean, be serious. Oh, and one other stipulation to the rule. It's going to have to be from a major country. You major countries, you know who you are. I'm not going to have the king of Latvia on here or some, like the princess of Western Malta. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So now, if there are kings or queens out there that want to request to sit down here with me on Quantum Zilch, the way to do that would be through the Facebook, just the way everybody else does it. Okay? Moving on. And now, it's time for a segment that I like to call, That's Pretty Cool. That's pretty cool. You ever heard the term whipping boy? Yeah? No? Well, it was a real thing in the 15th century back in England. What it was a young boy would be assigned to be the playmate of a prince, a young prince. And he was also given the designation of whipping boy. And what that meant was, if the prince ever misbehaved or got behind in his schoolwork, then this other kid was punished, physically punished. He got a whipping. Does that seem like a good deal to you? I mean, this stemmed from the idea, they got this idea because they thought God appointed kings and princes, and therefore no one should physically punish a prince unless it was the king. And the king was gone a lot. So these other people, the tutors and everybody else, they came up with this idea of the whipping boy. They thought that the sense of compassion in the prince would keep him in line, keep him in check. But can you imagine that kind of arrangement between two little guys, out there playing around, having fun, and they have a little disagreement about something, and the other one guy just goes, "Hey, you better do what I say. You better do what I want, or I will squeal on myself. I will rat myself out. I will tell on myself. I will tell them all the bad things I've done, and you will get a beating." Does that seem like a situation you want to be in? I mean, gosh, where are you going? I'm going over to Ralphie's house, Prince Ralphie's. I'm going to play over there. Okay, have fun. We'll see you when you get back, if you ever get back. The other thing I'm thinking is probably hard for them to find anybody who would be willing to give a beating to the prince, who could become king at any moment. Can you imagine? I mean, because the king dies, and this prince, he becomes king immediately. So there'd be, so I'm the king, I'm the king. Excellent. Tell me, what was the name of that schoolmaster who was whipping me this morning with the paddle? This very morning with the paddle. What was his name? Wilkinson. Yes, Wilkinson. Lovely chap. Do me a favor, summon Wilkinson. Summon him, please. Yes, tell Wilkinson I would like to see him at my throne. Yes. Tell him to come to my throne, and tell Wilkinson to bring that paddle, that little paddle of his that he's so very fond of. You like my accent? I've been working on this. Not bad, right? Pretty good. Not exactly the Queen's English. More of a hybrid between Cockney and Mancunian, I'd say. Manchesterese, Mancunian. But that is the end of Quantum Zilch. This episode of Quantum Zilch. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, take care of yourself and look out for each other.